Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the April 7th edition of Rhetorically Speaking. First, giving honor to God, who is first and foremost in my life. I wanted to say thank you to Pastor Jenkins and Deacon Jackson for allowing me to be here today. I'm not the only one that know that whole spiel. That went to a black church at any point in their life. But no, shout out to you guys for tuning in tonight's Rhetorically Speaking. Shout out to those who are watching on Facebook Live. Definitely a shout out to those watching on YouTube Live and who subscribed at Quantify LLC. I see y'all 25 new subscribers. It might mean nothing to those who are listening, but it means a lot to me because that means that I am 23 to 25 less people needed to get me to that point where I can monetize on YouTube. So it's rough calculations. I'm at like 99,700 and something. But no, shout out to you guys. Again, make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. Yesterday got me and got the brothers that are hashtag You Good Man group a lot of views on YouTube. Again, it might be 100, but for anybody that want to listen to me or listen to us have you know insightful intellectual dialogue, man, I'm always appreciative. And so yeah, it was a lot. And yesterday's conversation, which was on the idea of interracial dating and where we stand as black folk in the year 2020, which stems off the Jeannie Mai and young Jeezy engagement that took place within the last week or two. Uh, that means a lot. That means a lot because again, these are conversations. We live in an age where intellectual conversations are far and few between. If I'm gonna keep it real and keep it honest with y'all, for 100 people to say, "Yo, I'm gonna tune in and watch," let me see what y'all talking about. That means a lot. And shout out to Zane, no IG Zane. Shout out to the Cabana, who's Green District Media on Instagram, and Angelo, who is Angeloso or something fabulous related on on Instagram for being brothers who tuned in, who always offer their real thoughts and opinions, no matter if it goes against the grain or not. I'm always appreciative to that. Appreciative of that. I also want to shout out to the Maker's Mark, who sponsored the last hour, 2 hours of my life, because I had one of those moments where you get frustrated at the world, and any homeowner knows that when your hot water tank go, whew, bruh, that's your heart start hurting because it don't just go. It's not like a TV that just start messing up. You're like, all right, you know what, I can replace it. When the hot water tank go, when the hot water tank go, that typically means you're about to see at least a gallon or 30 on your basement floor. And so that's what happened to me today. It was one of those moments where it was just like, it hurt, it hit hard. But props to my mom. I'm not sure if she's tuned in. She got that guy. Everybody needs to have that guy. That guy who they can call. Sometimes they're alcoholic. I'm not going to say that the guy who came out to see me was alcoholic, but he was drunk at about 10:45 this morning, having conversations about getting this lady a phone charger. But that's just some of the things you got to deal with when you don't have to go in the yellow pages or go on the Google to have somebody come out. And I take that, 9 out of 10 times. He did overcharge me. I do want to speak to that. He did overcharge me because there was an agreed upon price that happened between the old heads. So when the old folks get together and they like, listen, this was going to be the price for the younger folk, that should be the price. And when I asked him what the damage was, because I wanted to see how he was going to give it up, he added about $50 extra to it. Now, how can I be mad? Right? So I'm like, here. Then he like, yo, can you take me to the to the beer distributor? This was like, I got you. But he overcharged. But sometimes you got to overcharge when that's just how it goes. So you can have that convenience, so you can have that peace of mind. LA Fitness is closed, so I couldn't take a shower like I wanted to if I would have let it go. All right, so shout out to him and shout out to all the under the table mechanics. So this conversation today will be based on what we talked about yesterday. right? Yesterday we had a conversation about young Jeezy and about Jeannie Mai. And so at the end of that conversation with the brothers where they were open, vulnerable, transparent, and what have you, I got text, I got Instagram DMs, and it was a video. And it was a video of Jeannie Mai. It took place 5 years ago. And my mouth dropped when I watched it. I immediately became frustrated, like, dag, I wish I had this. I wish I had this as it was taking place prior to yesterday's episode. And so what I'm gonna do now is play that video. So those of you who are watching on Instagram, unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to see it. You got to go to Facebook Live, Quantify LLC, or YouTube Live, Quantify LLC. But I'm about to play the video now.
Yeah, I did. But for me, dark meat on the side, white keeps me mean and lean. You know, that's why I married white man. That's what I like.
Hold up. What do you mean, dark meat on the side?
Because she lightweight offensive. I am going
I'm
to
not.
hush.
I'm saying, like, I really do think black men are attractive. I do. Like, that's my...
Well, what do you mean, dark meat on the side?
That means, honey.
That's...
You know what that means.
Wait, what are you reading it as?
Ain't nobody, how did you say it?
I'm just saying, like, when I think about men, I like dark men. I do.
Right, you like your main man to be white and your side piece to be
No,
dark. that is not what I mean.
Jeannie, explain what you mean.
Okay,
what you meant.
what I meant is, like, I used to date black men, and I think they're attractive. But what I decided to stick to, because it just kept me happiest, was my man, Freddie, who happens to be white.
Are you sure?
Yes!
Okay.
I dated an Asian man once.
You did?
Oh, my God.
And so we're not going to get into what the other sister was saying, talking about her dating an Asian man. But word, that's exactly what she said. So first, shout out to Tamar, who called her on that. Like, yo, what do you mean that you got your dark meat on the side? And when I watched it, my mind was blown. I'm like, word, this is how you're giving it up? This is what you're talking about? And now, unfortunately, and where this puts her in an unfortunate position is that people saw that 5 years ago and they commented and they came at her neck. But now when she gets married to Jeezy, of course this is going to come back out. Her talking about, yeah, I'm going to keep my dark meat on the side. But in essence, to white is right. And so it's a 5-year gap in between. But when my first thoughts, when that happened, was that she can't be serious. Was that she can't be serious. But in fact, she was. And her sentiments aren't different than many of those non-black folk that exist out here. Black men are looked at as a fetish. Sort of like how trans women are looked at. How trans people are looked at as being fetishes, as opposed to seeing the entire person. And so we know we have a long history of black men being viewed as those who seek out sexual conquest or those who are sexual conquest for others. And so that's how she came across. I think what was unfortunate about it, no, I'm not, you know what? It's not unfortunate. Because hearing her speak about the dark meat, first referencing us as dark meat, I was like, you know what? At first I was upset. But then when I sat and thought about it, I was like, it sounds like she's just regurgitating what she's seen society say. And so when we talk about this idea of change, me being a social worker and me believing that people have the propensity to change no matter what their situation is, After 5 years, she realized that what she was talking was nonsense. That settling with the white man, no matter how dope he was, and she realized that he wasn't dope at all, wasn't for her. And she needed to open her horizons, open her perspective. If she was going to be happy, if she was going to find love. And so now here she is 5 years later saying, you know what? I love this man, the snowman, Jeezy. I think his real name is like Walter or something wild. You ever notice that rappers have like the rappers with the hardest names? With the hardest names have like the the softest real names. One that comes to mind, and he a dope brother. Listen, when I seen him down South Street here in Philadelphia, I ran up to him. I said, listen, you have the best album in Philadelphia music history. And his first name is Leslie. Shout out to Freeway. Right? And so I tried to show her that grace and shoot her that bail. But then I started to wonder again, did he see this? Right? Did he see this and not care? And we talked about yesterday how is this a matter of him finding his way through black women, and then he get to this certain point and he was like, yo, I want her. I want the non-black woman. Or is this just a matter of, yo, this is who you see. This is who you're around. If you around my man Joe Button, he said if you're around someone long enough, you're bound to get fly with them. It's going to be more than high and by with them. And so maybe that was the case. I have no idea what his circles look like. Because the more money you make, the smaller your circles become. And so I just thought it was just like how ironic. We had this conversation. I didn't know that video existed that I played, but it pops up. And now here we are. And it makes me think about just this idea, this narrative that's been painted about black men. About how we aren't the sensual beings. About how we're hard. We're hardened. About how we're criminals. We're the ones who you have to clutch the purse for. And it's unfortunate. Because what does that mean? I'm a firm believer at the root of all of it, at the root of all of this is love. But we aren't going to see that love because of preconceived notions that exist out in this world, like the ones that Jeannie Mai just spewed off. We know the black community and the Asian community have a really interesting relationship. It's typically one-sided. The Asians provide a good and we consume the good. There's not a level of mutual respect that exists. We saw that in Menace to Society. Hurry up and buy. Cliche as it is, it's a reality for a lot. It's the reason why within the inner city communities, we see the bulletproof glass that exists. Truth be told, those don't exist in other communities where Asian restaurants are. But it's around black folk. So are they coming with this preconceived notion of us being violent? Of us being worthy of being the side meat, but not the main course? I salute Jeannie Mai now. Because what I see change, I see evolution. Or maybe it could just be somebody that wanted love and realized that, yo, I'm not finding it. I don't know if she's settling again. I don't know their specific situation. So Zakiya says, did she become so enlightened, or was her dream of the white man crushed because she was emotionally abused? So she sought refuge in the black man, the opposite, maybe less entitled man, potentially. I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship. That's something that somebody would have to sit down and have a conversation about. But I know when I went on these blog sites and I saw and I read under the engagement announcement, there's a lot of black women lighting her up for those very comments that I showed. And so for those who are tuning in, I'm gonna play it again. And feel free to drop your thoughts. Or you can give us a call. I got more memory now. 267-420-2070. Here's Jeannie Mai on dating black men.
Yeah, I did. But for me, dark meat on the side, white keeps me mean and lean. You know, that's why I married white man. That's what I like.
Hold up. What do you mean, dark meat on the side?
Because she lightweight offensive.
I'm not. I'm saying, like, I really do think black men are attractive. I do. Like, that's my...
Well, what do you mean, dark meat on the side?
That means, honey.
You
know what that means.
Wait, what are you reading it as?
How did you say it?
I'm just saying, like, when I think about men, I like dark men. I do.
You like your main man to be white and your side piece
that is not what I mean.
Jeannie, explain what you mean.
Okay,
what
I meant is, like, I used to date black men. Okay, I think they're attractive. But what I decided to stick to, because it just kept me happiest, was my man Freddie, who happens to be white.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I dated an Asian man once.
You did?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so again, in that day in black history, man, Tamar Braxton should have got the Negro of the Day award. Just like Delroy Lindo over this past couple of days should have got Negro of the Day award when he challenged them white people to say the N-word. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead and say it. I want you to say it. I'll say it with you. Again, y'all don't know how epic that is, especially coming from somebody like Delroy Lindo, who's a classic actor. But again, back to this Jeannie Mai conversation. Again, maybe it's just this enlightenment. Maybe it's the fact that she recognized that everybody F's up. You got F boys across the board. And so, hey, if I like the dark meat and was F boys across the board, I might as well go to what I like. Which is interesting and a whole nother conversation in itself. Especially it being Young Jizzle, a.k.a. the Snowman. I love Jeezy. I could be honest. I went to his concert, probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to. He give you 110%. But when you think about when he was telling y'all he was the Snowman, and his son was sitting there going to college, they was living in the suburbs. Meanwhile, you got people out here trying to be him. That's just like the Lil Baby conversation, if you're not familiar with Lil Baby. Lil Baby just announced within the last month or so that he doesn't use Percocets or any of those drugs that he might rap about. Same thing as Future. So it's like doing one thing or saying one thing but doing another. But we know the influence and the ramifications on the community of the unenlightened can be devastating. Shout out to Leslie Young who tuned in. Shout out to Sam Evans, who said that mindset happens on every college campus across America, from the black boy on the court to the one in the classroom. No doubt. I went to Bloomsburg University, Sam. White girls wasn't feeling me, though. I have no idea why. I feel like that's a conversation that I want to go back and ask them. Because my brother from another, my man Brian King, his wife not tuned in. And plus that was before her, so she ain't know. They loved him and we look alike. But what happened? He went to Strathaven. I went to Germantown Lincoln on motivation. I just didn't have that talk for him. Right? I don't know what it was, but that's just the reality. But no, you bring up a great point. Because they become enamored, infatuated. They want to try it out. They want to see what that's like. They want to see about Jamal or Samuel. And again, I don't want to say they're going out and that all white women or all non-black women are going in with um with bad intentions. Not at all. Because again, if you're around people long enough, you're going to be cool with them. You might start looking at them in a different light, and that supersedes and transcends race or ethnicity. I don't want you to think that I'm saying that interracial dating is bad. No, not at all. But when I see those comments that she's saying she's looking at him and she's looking at black folk as a novelty, there was another interview, it might have been in that same episode, where she started talking about Fabulous and how he has so much swag. It's like, and she was embarrassed to say it, that she liked the rapper Fabulous. But she liked this boy, what was he on, the Travel Channel or the Cooking Channel or something like that? She ain't had no problem saying that. And so, yeah, Tyrone might not be able to come home because parents don't know how to, especially Asian parents. I think that's a different aspect all in itself. I think white folk have a general understanding, like, listen, it's what it is. They might not agree with it, but Asian parents, their culture is much more strict than other cultures that exist. And again, we talked about that yesterday, because they look at it, and not saying them in general, because I know some dope, shout out to Ann, shout out to people, the Asian women and men that I know, and interracial couples, not all, because some just want to see their child happy, which at the end of the day should be what it is about. But as the good brother Zane said yesterday, some of them look at, some cultures look at marriage and relationships as strictly political. It's strictly political. It's business, even if we don't call it business. And so maybe Jeannie stepped away and said, you know what, listen, I want to be happy. And this Negro melanin man, he makes me happy. And so what am I to say to that? What am I to say? You wrong? I just hope it lasts. Make it last forever. I don't know who sang that song, but I know it's an oldie but goodie. All right, I know it's an oldie but goodie. I think I heard Keep Sweat in the background. That Keep Sweat in the background? Make it last forever. They'd probably go back before him. So shout out to them. Leslie says, Jeannie is not dumb. She knew what she meant in that statement. Yeah, she did have... You know what? I don't know. And I think that's the difficult part, because she's appeared plumb dumb. Like, she appeared naive. And then she went and doubled down on it. And so I think that's what was most interesting about it, when Tamar called her out. I think it would have been a different conversation if the girl that I do not like, and not because she called me corny in the DM, because I sent her a picture about 6 years ago, but I think if the girl that's there now, Amanda Seals, if she would have said that around her, it would have been a totally different conversation. She would have went in. Shout out to Leslie with the Keith Sweat. Yeah, shout out to Keith Sweat. I only know like 2 of his songs, but apparently he's a 90s legend. But shifting gears. I want to talk about this COVID-19 and it being a death sentence for Black America. Now, we've seen a drop-off of celebrities coming out and saying, yes, I have COVID-19 and I'm asymptomatic. I am doing fine. I'm going to fully recover. We've seen a drop-off on that. And y'all know how I felt about that. That highlighted privilege and racism and systematic oppression. because we know everybody who's asymptomatic is not afforded the opportunity of having a COVID-19 test. Shout out to Philadelphia, who now is giving not asymptomatic people tests, because that'd be too much like, right? But people who aren't insured, they're still now able to get tested at one site downtown. One site downtown. If there's enough tests left over. But this is America, right? This is America. And so we've seen a decrease in celebrities coming out. But what we've seen now is an increase of COVID-19 cases amongst Black America. We're talking about 40 to 60% of cases in various states like Illinois and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. 40 to 60% of these cases are of Black folk. In places like Milwaukee, 80% of the deaths are of Black folk. Chicago, 70%. What's interesting is that they're not keeping statistics of the racial or ethnic background of the individuals who are dying from COVID. Or, matter of fact, I take that back. They're not putting that data out. You got to go search for that. Because we'll see that a lot of people who are Black folk are dying from COVID-19. I posted on social media, Facebook and Instagram, Phil_Roundtree, that racism is a public health crisis. You see it in the numbers right there. Why? So we're talking about a lack of universal testing for both symptomatic and asymptomatic patients. We're talking about a lack of resources. I've seen several articles of black men, Black women going to the hospital, being symptomatic and being sent home. Why is that taking place? Because we know that Black folk are not believed when they express that they have symptoms of any matter. And this has been taking place way before COVID. If we need a high profile case, look at Serena Williams, who was complaining of issues during pregnancy and postpartum, and she wasn't believed. And this are esteemed elite Negroes. We're talking about a lack of insurance. We know that a high percentage of people do not have health insurance, me included. Me included. And so what does that mean? That means that unless I go to that one spot down in West Philly, I cannot get tested. And of course, I must be symptomatic. It must be severe. And so the consequences of that are the deaths that are taking place. And so, like I said, Milwaukee, 80% of the deaths. Chicago, 70% of the deaths are of Black folk. And so I've been on social media. I've seen Mark Lamont Hill. Shout out to the homie. He don't know rap or basketball. But he talked about those points that I previously mentioned. The influencers that are causing these Black deaths. And so I see some Black people talking about, oh, it's social distancing. It's social distancing. You're saying that these tons, dozens and dozens and thousands of Black folk that are dying are a result because they not standing 6 feet away from somebody? Or because they not staying in the house? Word? As I always say, it's bigger than Nino Brown. What about when we talk about in impoverished neighborhoods, in impoverished homes? It's not just 1 or 2 people living in a home. It's 5 and 6. And so if somebody has a menial job that they have to go do because they're essential, they're going to be exposed and they're coming back home. And next thing you know, you have a generation of folk impacted by COVID-19. Right? Let's think about it. Let's think about it. When I say it's bigger than Nino Brown, it's bigger than him. It's not just a matter of Wesley Snipes selling crack in the hood. Yeah, that's real and that's dangerous and that's unfortunate. But what about all the other entities that are taking place that are influencing this? The number 1 cause of death of black folk is heart disease, compromised immune systems. And so I see a lot of the people, not a lot of the people, I can't speak to that. I take that back. I see some of the people whose deaths are being highlighted. Black folk in particular. God bless the dead. It was a SEPTA driver in Philadelphia who died of COVID issues. And I look at him and I see that he's obese, which increases the likelihood that he has underlying health issues. But again, is this conversation happening? Or are people going to lash out at me because I say, I'm concerned about Lizzo? Love Lizzo. She dope. I don't agree with all the shit that she do. But I know personally, firsthand, what being overweight and being obese leads to, no matter how athletic I am. It leads to being pre-diabetic. Again, like I said, the number 1 cause of death for black folk, heart disease, is problematic. And so when I see that 25% of the deaths are due to obesity-related issues, it makes me look and say, what are we doing? Saud, what is you doing, baby? You pouring all the sugar into the yams? Into the greens? It's murder? What's impacting our physical wellness that are making us die at a higher rate than other races and ethnicities? And so, no, this isn't me shaming, but we got to tell it like it is. Because hard truths are realities. Chain smokers. Lungs are compromised. What are we doing? Food deserts in impoverished neighborhoods where you can't go get you some fresh greens or some fresh fruit within a few mile radius. So what am I doing? I'm going to the poppy store. Systematic racism and oppression that leads to coronavirus deaths. Again, uncomfortable truths, but realities. So it's not a matter of, yeah, we know some people who out here drawn, getting together 5, 6, 10, 20 at a time, saying, oh, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. But I just don't think it's all the people who are dying from it, or all the people who are severely impacted. I see the Prime Minister, what's his name, Boris Johnson. I look at him and he looks like a drunk. I don't like saying that word, but it's reality. He doesn't look like he takes good care of himself. And so here he is in ICU. Now, we know that's not the case. We know that's not the standard. You can have that vegan lifestyle, Sam. I'm cool. Listen, I like my pork bacon a lot. I do. But I like my squats even more. I like being able to run even more. You know what I mean? But again, these are adjustments and life adjustments that we have to make. And so it's not to be doom and gloom. But we see what's not happening. We see who are allowed to take the test. The elite. And no, we aren't a part of the elite. No matter how many 100,000-aires I see complaining. Shout out to CJ McCullum saying that some NBA players are living paycheck to paycheck. Man, if you don't get out of my face with this 400,000 you talking about, that's what some folk will make over a lifetime. It's not my fault you don't know how to budget your money. Not talking about CJ, but just talk about that idea in sports in general. Again, in this moment, I don't want to hear from them. I'm sitting here watching these videos on ESPN talk about social distancing. Got A-Rod. Made at least a half a billion in his lifetime. You got these athletes, you got these reporters sitting there watching them in their crib. Both black and non-black. Meanwhile, you got 6 people in somebody's crib who watching it on ESPN. You got 4 people who making 20,000 in the crib. So yeah, no, I'm not trying to hear from y'all. Sometimes you just got to be quiet. But I recognize the influence that celebrity has on human life. But I think in this moment, it's been highlighted that ish don't mean nothing. We don't care about y'all. Not in that way. Hopefully a lot of people will come to light and recognize y'all just do something that I enjoy watching. But I could care less what y'all doing in y'all 9 to 5, outside of y'all 9 to 5. I hope we start to take back our power as a society, as a community, to where we put the focus on us, till we start to realize that it's about community. That when the next virus comes, because they come. Look at history. They come. That we'll be prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Listen, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight. I feel like this is one of my better episodes. I don't care what y'all say. Right? I feel like I done dropped some knowledge. I dropped some information. I think this was good enough for me to drop this.
Let me see if y'all gave me any donations. Let me see. I'm giving y'all all my wisdom, but where the donations at? Last donation to the school was Richard Harris. Somebody better get on their Cash App. Somebody better get on their Cash App. Cash.me/$FDMG school. I better get some donations. I'm about to hang up.
Umar be tripping, but Umar wasn't wrong. Cash App, Quantify LLC. Send me a couple dollars. It go to good use. Now, I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to check y'all tomorrow on this Wellness Wednesday. Peace.